Lads, excellent, and I mean excellent news for the Indiana Fever.
Like, we got some interesting news. Caitlin Clark was back at practice today. I saw the video. She was in practice in workout attire. Now, I don't know how much she participated, but she was there at practice as the Indiana Fever gear up to beat.
Caitlin Clark injury drama just took a wild turn. Is she back for real, or is it just mind games? For a moment, it looked like Caitlin Clark was packing her bags for Europe, sidelined by a groin injury that had fans and analysts in a frenzy. Medical consultations, whispered updates, and intense speculation took over the headlines. Then almost out of nowhere, Clark casually returns to Indiana Fever.
Is in gear. She is in gear at practice. Lads, that is super duper important.
Fever practice, looking as sharp as ever. The basketball community is in absolute shock, and rival teams are likely experiencing cold sweats right about now. Her presence changes everything. She didn't just show up, she showed up ready. Fully geared, bouncing, cutting, jumping, moving with precision. It wasn't the body language of someone nursing a serious injury. It was the body language of someone sending a message. I'm not done. Now here's the big question. Is Caitlin Clark truly prepared for a full-force comeback, or is this an elaborate smokescreen orchestrated? By the Indiana Fever. Let's be brutally honest, this injury saga has been an emotional roller coaster no one could have predicted. 1 week, she's torching defenders in her second pro season, and the next, rumors of groin injuries and specialist appointments across the country are spreading like wildfire. Some even went as far as suggesting a possible move to Europe if things didn't improve. Can you imagine that? The WNBA losing its biggest star in the middle of her prime, but just when the noise reached its peak, and many were ready to write her season off. Clark pulled the ultimate plot twist. She stepped back onto the court like nothing had ever happened. Footage captured by Scott Agnes's of Fieldhouse Files went viral instantly. There she was, fully dressed, locked in, explosive in movement. It was a slap in the face to anyone who doubted her return. Of course, we all know practice and competitive gameplay are two entirely different beasts, but symbolically, this return to practice is massive. For her team, and for every WNBA team that had secretly started adjusting their strategies, assuming her absence. The Fever's decision to keep everything hush-hush added to the injury timeline. No public medical updates, no clear communication, just silence. And that silence sent ripples through the league. Coaches were recalibrating defensive schemes, analysts were reimagining matchups, and rival players were breathing a little easier. With Caitlin Clark potentially out of the equation, opposing teams likely felt a sense of relief. They could afford to ease up on certain coverage.
But Caitlin Clark, not in street clothes at practice. This is some video from practice from Scott Agnes, and Michaela Timpton hits the half-court shot. Caitlin happy about it. But I noticed what she's dressed in. Now, that could just be what she's rehabbing in. I don't know if she took part, what she did. Got enough groin flexibility to step over somebody. So
they could take calculated risks without the looming threat of Clark draining at half-court 3. Then came the footage. Boom, everything flipped. Opponents now must revert back to full alert mode. They have to game plan again for one of the most dynamic players women's basketball has ever seen. Clark's influence on the court goes well beyond scoring. She's a walking chess piece that forces opposing teams to rethink their entire defensive philosophy. Leave her open, and she'll punish you. Focus too much on her, and she'll find the open teammate. She manipulates defenses like a maestro, controls an orchestra, and let's not downplay the psychological warfare her presence brings. Even if she's not operating at 100% capacity, just her being on the court is intimidating. Her track record, her media presence, her record-shattering career, all of it plays in the minds of her opponents. Every defender knows that one misstep, one lapse in focus, and she'll make them pay in the most embarrassing way possible. The timing of this entire situation couldn't have been more dramatic. Just as the Fever were finding rhythm and fans were getting excited, her injury halted the momentum. But sometimes setbacks work in strange ways. That break might have given her time to recalibrate both mentally and physically. It's also worth noting, she didn't treat her recovery like a vacation. Those cross-country visits to medical specialists weren't just for optics. They prove she's serious about her health and determined to return stronger, not just healed. That kind of commitment is exactly what separates great athletes from legends. And then there were the European rumors, by far the most fascinating subplot. The mere idea of
Is a big sign when it comes to Caitlin Clark that she is at least participating in part of practice. Do I think Caitlin Clark should take it as handy as possible? Of course. Take it as handy as possible. Go as slow as possible. Go at whatever speed you feel comfortable at, Caitlin. Take as much time as you need. Take more time than you need. If you think you need 2 or 3 weeks off, take a month.
Clark taking her talents abroad had fans and experts spiraling. Yes, Europe offers solid competition and attractive paychecks. But let's be honest, Caitlin Clark belongs in the WNBA, and the WNBA needs. Caitlin Clark, she's not just a player, she's a marketing powerhouse, a ratings boost, and the face of the league's future. Losing her overseas would have been catastrophic for a league that's still fighting for attention, respect, and revenue now that she's back in practice. Everything resets. The Indiana Fever can start building their strategy around her again. Fans have a reason to rally, and the rest of the WNBA. They're back in defensive mode, bracing themselves for another round of high trio performances and three-point daggers. While the footage is encouraging, the true test will come when the lights are on and the pressure's real. Can she withstand the physicality of elite competition? Can she perform without hesitation or second-guessing her body? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. Caitlin Clark is not going quietly. The timing of Caitlin Clark's return to the court could not be more strategic. In fact, it may prove to be a blessing in disguise. After a brief hiatus due to a groin injury that sent shockwaves through the league, Clark's reappearance at practice suggests she's not just back, she's possibly more focused, refreshed, and re-energized than ever before. Rather than being worn down by the physical and mental toll of a grueling WNBA season, she's returning with renewed perspective and a hunger that rivals can't ignore. For the Indiana Fever, her comeback doesn't just change the rotation, it completely reshapes the team's identity. Without her, the Fever are simply another franchise trying to keep up in a competitive league. With her, they become appointment viewing, a legitimate title threat, in the center of media and fan attention. That's how big the gap is. Everyone across the league understands this dynamic, and you can bet rival teams are already scrambling to rework their game plans. Her absence also meant increased pressure on her teammates. When your superstar is sidelined, every other player must elevate their game, often beyond their natural roles. That pressure can strain any lineup. With Caitlin back, the rest of the roster can settle into more comfortable, effective positions. Restoring balance and rhythm, from a fan standpoint, this return is monumental. Caitlin Clark has brought millions of new eyes to women's basketball. Fans have been hanging on every update, every rumor, every clip. Now that she's officially back in action, social media is poised to erupt, and you can bet her first game back will dominate headlines. Expect a spike in television ratings, ticket sales, and digital engagement the moment she steps on the hardwood. Her presence directly impacts the business of the league. From merchandise sales to brand partnerships to media coverage, everything scales up when Clark is active. She is a marketable superstar in an era where the WNBA is working hard to expand its audience, and she's the league's centerpiece. Losing her to injury or worse, to international play, would have been a significant blow to the league's trajectory. But now that she's returning, the WNBA gets back one of its most vital growth engines. Let's not forget about the psychological impact her return has on the opposition. Teams that were breathing easier are now confronted with reality. The path just got tougher. Coaches are already deep in film, redrawing defensive schemes, specifically to try and contain her. But the truth is you can't really prepare for it. Caitlin Clark, she's a generational talent with an unpredictable skill set that forces defenses to stay on their toes every second she's on the floor. This is no rookie we're talking about either. Clark is entering her second year as a professional, which means she's experienced, better adapted to the pace and physicality of the WNBA, and more comfortable with the spotlight. Time away has likely offered her a chance to refine her approach, heal properly, and return with sharper decision-making and enhanced understanding of the game. And if she's managed to maintain her fitness during recovery, she might be even fresher and stronger than the players who've been grinding all season long. Properly used recovery time is an asset, not a liability. For rival teams who are hoping for a few more weeks without having to deal with her, this is the nightmare scenario. They'll need to invest more practice time, energy, and strategy just to have a chance of containing her. It's not just about the on-court challenges, it's a mental battle, too. Going up against someone who commands national attention and has already rewritten parts of the record books creates a pressure that few can ignore. Caitlin Clark brings a level of intensity and competitive fire that radiates across entire teams. She doesn't just raise her own game, she elevates the environment. Opponents have to bring their best or risk getting embarrassed on national television. And with that kind of energy comes exhaustion, especially for teams unprepared to meet that level of excellence consistently. Her return also places a spotlight on every game she plays in. When Clark is on the floor, media coverage surges. Games are dissected, every play analyzed, and every matchup scrutinized. For the WNBA, this is invaluable. Increased media attention leads to broader exposure, larger audiences, and a stronger case for sponsorships and investments. What's most intriguing, though, is what we don't know yet. Will she be rusty? Or will she come back sharper, more dangerous than before? Have other teams figured out any new strategies to contain her while she was sidelined? Or will they find themselves overwhelmed yet again by her range, vision, and confidence? Her return opens up a world of possibilities, not just for the Fever, but for the league as a whole. With her back, the Fever can resume their offensive identity. Their players can fall back into their ideal rotations. And the chemistry that was starting to build pre-injury can pick right back up. And let's talk legacy. When a single player's health can shift the balance of power in an entire league, you're not dealing with just a good athlete. You're dealing with a generational force. Caitlin Clark's return doesn't just matter. It redefines the season. So here we are. Caitlin Clark is back. And every team, every analyst, every fan is officially on notice. The race just intensified. And the WNBA's spotlight just got a lot brighter.